Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kevin Resley alongside my sidekick in the studio at this time, Chris Zanelli. Chris, how you doing?
I'm all right, thank you, Kev. How are you?
I'm all right, you know. I am with this interview anyway, set up all the way from LA. It's afternoon to us, which I'll ask him shortly. Matt Goss, good afternoon. How are you?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. What time of day is it? Let's get that one out of the way first of
It's
all.
10 a.m.
It's 10 hours. That's not too bad then.
10 a.m. Yeah, in the morning.
It's not the middle of the night, is it?
No, I don't really. These days, I actually don't really know. But yeah, I think it's the morning.
Sure. Welcome to Sheffield Live.
Thank you for having me.
You're very, very, very welcome. Now then, you were born in Lewisham in 1968. Let's go back to that time. What was your childhood like, Matt?
One of my fondest memories of my life, even including, the amazing experience I had with the band and now. Because when we lived in Camberwell, we lived actually with, and we spent most of our time with my granddad, my aunt Sally, my brother Luke, myself and my mum in 37 Crawford Road. Right. And my mum and dad broke up when we were 5, but it was just the most amazing time. And anyone that's seen After the Screaming Stops, the Dart story kind of sums it up. We were just a couple of little ruffians that just, we were always encouraged just to kind of push through and fight through, and always full of music, amazing music. Stevie Wonder, Cream, Free, amazing. Donny Hathaway, just some amazing music. I remember going to buy my first single, Ian Dury and the Blockheads, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick. And it was always, everything was music and food, good roast dinners with white pepper.
Right. And have you taken that over to LA with you then, that pepper? Is it somewhere in the cupboard there?
I've always got a bit of white pepper somewhere, mate, yeah.
Okay, so let me take you over to Chris, who's going to ask you a question, if he can. Chris.
Thank you, Kev. So, years of music, 86 till now. So, where did it all start and how?
I actually did it. I was thought I was going to be an actor, and I did a production of Cabaret. I had the lead role, and it was, directed by the amazing Jane Roberts, and she was the most incredible drama teacher. And I played the lead part in a production of Cabaret, and involved a lot of singing. And a lot of people would come up to me and say, "Oh, I love your voice," and I didn't really even have a concept of what that meant. And then this was when I was, early teens, and I ended up joining my brother's band that didn't have a singer. I went to the audition, basically got the gig because there was no one else turned up. And, that was my first band. I was like 13 years old, and we had many, many bands. And then our final band was called Summer House because we rehearsed in a place called Summer House. And we were discovered by Nicky Graham, who was friends with Tom Watkins, who managed the Pet Shop Boys. And they signed us straight away based on the music we were doing and our look and all that. And then we started making an album called Push, and which included songs like When Will I Be Famous, I Ain't Nothing, Cat Amongst the Pigeons, Drop the Boy. So it was an incredible experience, because I remember being in the studio just unaware of any of that stuff, and any of the that goes along with the fame that goes along with, being a celebrity or anything. It was just purely making the music, the excitement of making a record.
That was the thing to ask you, Matt, if I can, drifted into a Bros a little bit. We've talked to quite a few people now of our singers still today, like yourself, and blind side to that. How did you deal with the fame thing? Because a lot of people we've spoken to, Chris and I, say, well, suddenly we're just ordinary Matt and Luke and the guys, and we might go for a sandwich on the high street at Lewisham and pop into Marks and Spencer's. And suddenly we're in a car surrounded by thousands of teenagers, and we're going from place to place. Everybody wants our pictures, interviews. Did anybody mention that this is where I think it's going to go, Matt, and you should be prepared for this? Or was it just a long roller coaster ride, if you like?
It's a good question. It's a multi-layer question, I think. I think that, first of all, I think that we didn't want to be, we weren't interested in mediocrity. I think that we wanted to be a very famous band. You know, being twins, two brothers, we were two blonde boys, and we would always stand out in a crowd because we were just, you know, we were twins, so that automatically it was, oh, they're the GOSS brothers, they're the GOSS brothers. So it was always the GOSS brothers or the GOSS twins. And so we were used to kind of always people sometimes stopping us genuinely, even before we were famous. But I never forget, we went to my mum's house in Peckham, and there was this lady that and genuinely, it's just that she was really in a bad way. She couldn't breathe. I said, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "I'm okay." Anyway, so I ran indoors to get to my mum's, get some water for her. And I came out, and then she'd gone. About 15, 20 minutes later, we came out again, and there were 10 people who couldn't breathe and having, like, freaking out. And my mum looked at me very calmly, and she said, "I think this might be because of you, son." Because we'd recently had the back cover of Smash Hits. And and it was basically, it started from then, before the record even came out. And then the record came out, and it just, within 1 year, we were number one in 30 countries simultaneously. And we knocked ourselves off of number one in Australia. But I will tell you this, it's nobody, you know, tells you how to deal with that stuff. And I think what happens is that it becomes, after the madness, there's a lot of solitude. So, like, once you're in a building, it was easier for the team to keep us there, because getting us out of the building would have been a palaver. You know, it would have been an inconvenience to everybody. So I think during that 5 years, once you entered a building, you knew you were probably there for the rest of the day for Bros. Because I think Bros was, in particular, out of any band I've seen since, really has experienced the mayhem like no other band. That's why it's called Brosmania. It was just convenient to stay in a building, and I think that was tough. And that was the only tough part of it. It was once you're in a building, you weren't getting out, really.
So how old would you guys have been in the middle of that? Right, guys, we've got you out the cards, a few scratches here and there, and then you've got the guys bringing in your clothes, and of course, if you're doing a concert in that building, all that's going on and all that sort of thing. And was it like a kind of tension there, and like from the security aspect of it, if you like, and you guys as well, you know, what it like, we're in now, it's okay.
It sounds like you were there. I remember a time when I walked into a hotel room. First of all, I want to be very clear. I had some of the best times of my entire life, because you know, you're being dropped, you're landing on the back of a boat and a helicopter. You're jetting off on private jets and going all over the world and doing things you couldn't dream of, and doing royal performances. And it was incredible. But there were times when, I walked into one of my rooms and somebody grabbed my leg. Grabbed my legs from under my bed. There were times when people were in wardrobes. You always had to have a safe room. So we would have a room on the same floor that you could get whisked off quickly if somebody had managed to get into your room. And after that moment, then we had people thought that maybe even the press was listening to some of our conversations. We really were. I think paranoid was the right word. It was because, you know, there would be things in the press where could only have known if you were in the room. And so people would look for, like, bugs. People would check under the beds. Became our normal. It was very hard to explain, but at the same time, it was exciting, and it was a bit.
Did that sort of stop you from being Matt yourself at some stage or other going through this? Thinking?
No, I don't think so, because I believe I'm the same way I am now. I've never really looked at anybody in my whole life, now included. Listen, I don't know if you've seen the film. Anyone that's seen After the Screaming Stops, when I came back into the airport, there were hundreds of people there. Yes. And that was before the film. So it was nice in a way, so that people could see our lives, even now, are far from normal. But I never, ever think anyone wants to know me because of what I do. Or I think my mum raised me with humility. I hope so, because I always get a feeling of somebody. And maybe I understand that there might be a little bit of a moment at first when they go, oh, you know, they know you, and they get there's a reaction. But eventually, when you have conversation with anybody, I believe that one of the things I've always loved to do is try and put people at ease. because I think you can tell a lot. Sometimes people just act like idiots sometimes because they don't know what to say. But once you have a bit of a conversation, you can get to a nicer place and a more considerate place and a more, you know, and I felt that way. Even when I was a young man, I felt that way. I've always been interested in people.
I'll tell you one thing that I find interesting talking to you now is, and I'll say that because there is plenty out there. You're not a diva, Matt. No, and I can tell that. That's lovely to come over.
Thank you, mate.
Before I go over to Chris, I want to ask you this one if I can. Currently living in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Lovely place. I understand, never been. Would love to. So if you've got a spare bunk in there, just let me know.
I do. I've got a lot of rooms.
In Las Vegas, what appealed to you to that and why?
Well, my mother passed away just over 5 years ago, and
God bless her.
I was deeply affected by that. I'm not going to lie. It was
we've all got one mum, Matt. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it devastated me. It literally, I didn't personally know if I was going to come through it, to be honest with you. And at the time, I was 3 days after I passed, and I did a TV show here, massive TV show here called Good Morning America. Sure. And I never forget, you know, when she passed, I was still going. I was back on stage within 7 days, and I was doing 120 flights a year to Vegas alone, just to Vegas.
Sure.
And I just didn't think that I had the strength, in a way, psychologically. I didn't have the strength to keep getting on a plane and going and then doing shows and then coming back. And I felt very stateless. I didn't know where my home was. I didn't know. So I decided to come here to try and establish some peace so I could drive to the casino. I live on a golf course right now, and I just, and it did. Ironically, all the places in the world that I've lived, this gave me some peace. It gave me some sense of like, I'm going to do my show, do my meet and greet.
A peace of where you're at now, which is important.
Yeah, and I think that it was just, to be honest with you, it was just, that's why I came to Las Vegas, to just try and find some kind of normalcy so I could actually just sit with my grief and enjoy my show and know that I didn't have to go through security and just so I could have a bit of normalcy, if that makes sense.
It does, and I hope you keep on to that inner peace and the rest of your life as well. Chris.
Thank you, Kev. So, solo career started in 1995. How did it all start?
After GOSS, it was 1993 actually, I think, that when I actually started making my first record. But when my brother left the band, I was out of a job. So people forget, you know, that's exactly how it felt. Like I was out of a job, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I felt the tide was changing with the press. It was a very volatile environment for us, and we had to get out. And I said, I'm not staying here. So I moved to America. I moved to LA, and I started making my own music. And I remember I played Carnegie Hall with the Tokyo String Quartet in New York. I started having some incredible experiences, but it was also very, that's when I noticed, after the band, that's when I noticed that I had a couple of issues in regards to being out in crowds and stuff like that I had a bodyguard at the time called Sean, bless him, and he used to get frustrated that people wouldn't understand. Like, we'd just finished playing Wembley Stadium, you know, to 77,000 people, and he didn't understand that people everybody didn't recognize me, and I said to him, listen, I've got to go on this journey by myself, and I've got to find out who I am outside of all the fame and all that, and I've got to start again. And he went back to the UK, and I remember walking into a shopping mall, and I remember blacking out because it was just too much information for me, because it was only a couple of months after playing, you know, tens of thousands of people, and I was trying my best as a young man to try and just figure it all out. And I luckily did, and I signed a deal with Universal, and I made an album that I'm still proud of today. It's called The Key, and I just started on my journey making records. I started gigging by myself and acquiring an audience.
Just interject there, and you said that you know, you sort of got through that dark time. Now, not an artist in the
very dark.
You know, we've lost them through not sort of getting help in that situation. You know, you had all that, and then suddenly you had to rebuild it again. And you know, in your own words, so to speak, you said it felt as though in some ways that your world was caving in. Would you say to other artists out there who may experience that to actually get help on that as you did?
Well, again, I should probably give some context because my sister was also murdered by a drunk driver. So during that time, my sister was killed. And
Sorry about that.
so it wasn't your normal where you suddenly, oh, I'm having a bit of a hard time. You've lost another best friend, and you've lost all the possibilities of being an uncle and going through life with your sister. So you then try and do that in a country that's, I can promise you, America is a very, very big country, and there are times, even now as an adult, that I feel extremely lonely. But I would say to any artist listening to this, I would say to any artist that you have to get attached to the process of making music, the process of creativity, rather than the obsession of chart position. Even the song that I've got out right now, yes, radio, there's 50, 60 radio stations playlisted it, but it's a song by myself and produced by Babyface. It's a flawless piece of recording. It's a really well done. I shouldn't be wondering in 32 years if radio is going to playlist one of my records, but that still continues today. Sure. Yes, I'm getting playlisted, but don't you think at some point, as a contemporary man that has done 3,000 shows and won the Key to the City, as my own day in an American city, as a soul boy, it would be nice to have an immediate kind of understanding that your country's got your back. We've never experienced that, me and my brother. We've never experienced it. The British public have been incredible to us, and the press have been brilliant to us now because we've hung in there. And I think the British have this respect if you manage to hang in there and pull through it. But to pull through it, you have to have fortitude. And a lot of artists, including myself, are driven by things that move us enough to write music and write lyric and write song. So there isn't what we do by definition has to be emotional, otherwise it's not authentic. So there lies the dichotomy. If you're not emotional, you usually are not a very good artist. And we're meant to be we're meant to be emotional. Pardon?
An ordinary guy who can't string two notes together, I can get what you're saying behind that. You know, the feeling of the well-being and sort of putting it together. We will get on to the latest song in a minute, but if I can ask you this, we're all going through it as a world currently. And how is an international artist like yourself coping with this lockdown currently?
I think I found great purpose. I was going live every night. I only stopped 3 days ago. Right. I went live every night on my Instagram for around 2 hours every day, and I would call fans, and eventually it's turned into something where it wasn't just fans, it was 65-year-old builder asking me to shed some light on his business because he was self-employed, or you know, a 16-year-old boy that was an artist that just felt lonely and he needed somebody to talk to, a 26-year-old man that was being bullied at work. So I actually sent a message to his boss and said, I want you to sort this out. This is serious. This man's going to work every day and he's being bullied. I want you to sort this out. And I'm publicly asking you. So it became something very, very real. And I become more attached to that. And it gave me such purpose because, you know, I ended up having over 300 guests on my Instagram with over 150 hours of conversation. Where they're all different walks of life, and it gave me such purpose. But I had to stop 3 days ago just so I can take a beat from my own life and get back into what I want to do. And you know, I want to come home. To be honest with you, I really do want to come back.
I was going to ask you that later on.
But it gave me purpose, is what I'm saying, and it gave me, you know, that's how I personally have been getting through this. But you know, I think the world is opening up, and it's time to. But I'll be doing it every Sunday now instead. So I'll just be doing 9 o'clock UK time. Anyone that just wants to have a chat or just see other people from all walks of life, come and join me on my Instagram live.
What an amazing thing to do. Absolutely amazing. Chris?
So there's a new song If I Ain't Got You, which is a cover of Alicia Keys, but it's also an NHS connection. So tell us more.
Well, yeah, it's at the tail end. To be, full transparency with you guys, it's at the tail end now. We've raised enough money to contribute to 40,000 meals for all the nurses and the first responders. So that's another thing that I've been doing during lockdown, is because I just wanted to be included. I saw all these images of all the bruised faces of the nurses, and just how extremely tired. And I was hearing that they were short on food, which was baffling to me. So I just wanted to get involved. But the song actually was meant to be my first single. I was excited, to release it properly with all the bells and whistles, beautiful video, etc. I recorded it in LA with Babyface, the legendary Babyface. If people don't know, he's recorded every single. There's not a song that you would not know. He's basically won Grammys, 50 Grammys. So to record with him was a real privilege.
Did you feel nervous doing that because of his name and what he's done and that? Did Matt Goss achieve what you have done working with him? Was there a bit of nervousness there?
I've known Kenny for a long time, so when he's a friend. So I've known Kenny for a very, very long time, and we also did the song. There was a TV show here called So You Think You Can Dance. It was a #1 show on Fox. I wrote the theme song for that show as well. So he produced that song with me. So it wasn't nervous, it was excitement. Whenever I get to record with Babyface, I'm excited because I know I'm in safe hands, and
kind of new chapter, if you like.
Yeah, I know that I've got to. I know the performance has to be spot on, which is a nice place to be. We're both perfectionists, but so we decided. I said, look, let's not wait. Let's try and create some money and some awareness, and let's just get involved. And there's going to be another song. We can do another song, and release something else from the album another time. But let's get a song out there that is, romantic. It's beautifully recorded, and can also help raise money. So it was to raise money. It was also in a time when there was not a lot of new music coming out. We said, let's just put something out that's high quality, and that's something I'm proud of. And the response has been amazing.
Stunning sound.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Really, really, and it's from the guts and the heart. Would you like to find out there what it's called and how they can get hold of it, if you would?
Yeah, it's called First of all, thank you for that compliment. It's called If I Ain't Got You, and it's by me, Matt Goss, and you can get it on iTunes, Spotify. It's available on all digital platforms.
It's an amazing tune. Let me take you back to the stage, if I can. When you're going on, there's 40,000, 50,000 people there. Could you describe to me what's going through your mind? I've always wanted to ask an artist this, and I'm kind of doing this now. There's like 2 minutes to go. Everybody's ready. The band have been setting up for a week and whatever, and that sort of thing. If you can, put into words what the feeling of that is before you're ready to go. How do you pump yourself up? Are you already pumped? How does it work?
I think there's so many layers. I might be the wrong guy to ask this because there's so many different versions of my life.
Sure.
But when I'm going on stage at the O2, for example, I'll give you, when me and my brother, we were underneath the stage.
Yes.
And there are 25,000 people out there. You can hear them. It's loud. The intro's starting, and it's black under the stage. And you've usually got just one small flashlight, just letting you at least know where you are, the geography of all the scaffolding that's under the stage, and you can hear it. And it's an amazing feeling. Certainly with my brother, when we just look at each other and we know we're about to smash it. Is the honest truth.
Yes.
You just know that the show, with all the production, all the lights, all the pyrotechnics, everything is all set. And you've got, we were making the movie at that point. So we had 150 crew for the movie. We had another 100 crew for the show itself.
Right.
So it was like a small village to put these shows on. Sure. We're also filming it. And then we actually got pushed up through the bottom of the stage. It's basically, for people that haven't been there, it's a weighted seesaw. So it's like, you're on one end of the seesaw, the other end of it is weighted. So you get pushed up, and once they let go of that seesaw and you get pushed up, the show's on. And
please tell me, you landed okay.
I landed fine.
Right.
And then for the Vegas stuff, it's kind of a different experience because, as I say before, I drive in my car. I love cars, and I love the experience of being in my car and having music on. And I drive to the casino, the Mirage, and before that, Caesar's Palace.
Yeah.
And I use that time just to listen to some music that I love. I go there, I walk in, my band are all ready. I say hello to everyone, give everybody a hug. Then we put hands in. We say hands in. Everyone puts their hands in. I'll make some affirmation, positive affirmation, or make them laugh. And then we just go 1, 2, 3, family. They go off on stage, and then I'm as cool as a cucumber in the fact inside. I just can't wait to get on, because I also know that I'm people's night out. That's what I have to say, because I really want to say this. I think about the people on the way to the show. I think about them putting their suit on, doing up their tie, putting their dress, their heels, putting their fragrance on, their cufflinks. And I am somebody's night out. I mean, what an incredibly privileged position to be. And June, it'll be 11 years, my show. Wow. It's a very, very, it's hard to explain how long that is in Vegas to people, but that's a very, very long running show. And it's an incredible experience to know that you are people's night out. And I always know, and it's taken me, this doesn't come from a place of ego. I've definitely mastered what I do. I know exactly what I'm going to do to an audience. And it's always the same. I transport anyone that's been to one of my shows will tell you they get transported, and they have no worries, they have no bills. It's just pure entertainment and hopefully good, beautifully arranged music with, strong arrangements.
Thank you for the insight of that little bit, how it's seen from the side. Very interesting. Chris?
So, would you still like to sing with other artists? And if so, who would this be? And also, who influenced you?
I think, without question, I'd love to do a duet with Adele, because I think there's been a long time since there were two soulful people,
yes,
male and female. I'd love to do a duet with Adele where we could just really lose it ourselves in the vocal and the performance and the connection of lyric and melody. I would love to do a duet with Adele.
I'm talking to you now, and all the hairs have just gone up on my arms, you saying that. Really, what a beautiful duet that would be. Or, I mean, possibly it could be an album in it. Are you listening, Adele?
Yeah, Adele, if you're listening, let's do this.
Yeah, wow, amazing.
And I'm influenced by singers like, without question, Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway, also Frank Sinatra, Mel Torme. Even when I was young, I used to really, really, want to get the highest notes, I used to sing along to Steve Perry. Wow. So yeah, I love singers that have air in their voices as well. I like air,
passion.
I actually like air as well. I like, in the wee small hours of the morning. I like where it's just. I like where it's got air in the voice, where you feel like that voice is supported. It's not all coming from the nose. Yeah. But so I just love singers. I just love soul singers.
And long may it continue. My final question for you tonight from Chris and I is: do you, Matt Goss, have a message for Matt Goss fans?
Well, I have a message for people, not just Matt Goss fans. You don't have to like me or like my music to what I want to say. I think, all I would like is to say to people that that you're missed and you're loved by possibly a stranger on the other side of the world, and B, please, can we operate from a place of kindness? Can we operate a place from civility? Good morning, please, thank you, and good night. It doesn't cost you a penny. And I think when you operate from a place of consideration and patience, life is a better place to be. So I would just ask, that is all I would ask, is just people operate from a place of kindness and civility.
Thank you very much, Matt, for joining Chris and I on behalf of Sheffield Live at this time. Wish you all the best for your future. Take care, and we will speak to you again in the future, I'm sure.
Much love to you and listeners, my friend.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.